What's up, boys and girls? We are back with another episode of the Scale Your Sales podcast. And this time I am joined by Dr. Wes Fisher. So, Dr. Wes has been someone that we've worked with in terms of helping him get off of the phones and really scale things up with the sales team. It was about a year ago, if I remember correctly, that we actually started working together. And his growth has been tremendous. I'm really excited for this episode for you guys to get a peek behind the curtain and get an idea of what it's been like for him as he launched the company, started scaling it, and how he's gotten to where he's at now. What he does is he actually helps specialize in really getting government contracts and showing other people how to do that without them having to necessarily do all the work in fulfilling the government contract. Instead, they're playing more a middleman role. And so they're there like almost like a project manager, securing the government contracts, getting the contractors in place, managing it, and then as a result, they're able to break free from whatever situation that they're going through. I know your client results have been insane. Like I've seen a lot of the case studies,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things like the proof is in the pudding, and it definitely works when people are showing up and they're doing what you tell them to do. So, with that preface, I'm glad to have you here. So, give us a little background overall of just like how did you start doing this in the first place?
Got it. Well, I'm gonna give you your flowers as well, Mike. Thank you for having me here, man. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward, just really appreciate all your support. All right. So how do I got started in all this? Real simple story, man. I was a school teacher, 8 years. COVID happened, 2021. I'm looking for other things to get into, and I'm looking at all the things on the internet, right? I'm looking at Amazon. I'm looking at candlesticks, what they call it, the green lights and the red lights. I'm looking at all these different things, and when it comes to making money online, and luckily I found government contracting. I saw that opportunity back into 2021, and I just went full force with it. I found a mentor, someone who could coach me as well, and then I got into government contracting, and pretty quickly, my first month I won my first contract. Then about a month and a half later, won another one, then another one, then another one. And next thing you know, I walk away from teaching and I'm doing government contracting full time. And I did that for a little over a year and a half. I mean, I still do government contracting now, but I've been awarded over, I don't know, 3.5 million in government contracts. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, great. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm making a lot of money. And then what happens in entrepreneurship, right? Someone says, how do you do that? How does that work? And, then I had people come in my house. I'm doing lessons and telling my friends how to do it. I'm making little YouTube videos here and there. And I'm like, I got to figure out how to systemize this and package it out. And again, what do? I invest in myself again, right? So that I get the biggest thread here is every single time I invested in myself, I found my guy Marquell. Marquell brought me into this whole education space. Like you guys know, if you guys don't know, I was a school teacher. I'm not like someone who's been in this whole online space. I was a school teacher that did government contracting, found a guy named Marquell Russell, told me how to package stuff, get into this stuff. I don't know if you want me to go all the way to what happened. I can tell you the whole deal
Yeah.
really concisely.
So, well, what I really want to know is when you were going about trying to help people before
Mm-hmm.
you had reached out to Marquell in that situation,
Yep.
which by the way, you guys, if you want to check out, we have interviews with Marquell. Marquell is actually one of our longest time clients, and we've been working with Marquell since he started at like 30 grand a month and has been able to scale up massively since then. So I'll put a link to that interview as well in the show notes for you guys if you want to check that out. But leading up to that, I guess what was a thing that you were struggling with that made you say, okay, I need to get some help here?
It was simple, man. I mean, it was the constant asks from people, the constant asks of how are you doing government contracting? How are you doing it? How are you doing it? That constant, and like I said, I literally had 4 or 5 friends who came to my house, and I was like, yo, this is it. This is government contracting. This is how we're gonna do it. And unfortunately, none of them do it now. Life gets in the way. It is what it is. But it didn't work out for them. And I'm like, well, there's something. I'm like, maybe I know how to do it. I know how to teach it, but maybe I'm not packaging it the right way. Maybe I'm not putting it in the right eye. So I was kind of at that point. I was like, I got to find a way to really package this and really scale this. And that's what I did. That's when I started reaching out to people to find out. And I found Marquell, found you through Marquell. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is the way to how to go about this. This is the way to scale the education side of the business. And that's what we did.
And it's interesting what you're talking about with your friends. I have had a lot of the same experience, and almost anyone who has gotten to the point where they've launched their education business has had this experience. It's
Yeah.
that your friends will come, they want to see how you're doing it. When they, with Adriana in bodybuilding, she's always getting asked, like, can you send me your meal plan and your workouts? And if she ever sends anyone the meal plan and workouts, they never do it and never get results. I literally can't think of one person who had done it that she had sent it to. And same thing in my case, like whenever I tell the people how to do it, especially if they're close friends or I'm telling them for free without charging, it just seems like your good intentions go to waste.
100%.
Yeah. And that's a really demotivating moment. But that also, it sounds like, was a big part of it, is like, I'm spending all this time and this time's looking like it's a waste of time. And I
Hmm.
don't want to keep wasting my time. So how do I do this more efficiently? Now, as a school teacher, did you have any like feeling of, I can't charge that for this, or people aren't going to pay that for this, or any of
Yeah.
those sorts of ideas?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. Like I said, for me coming from the school teaching, career, and I'll tell you guys, I was making 50K at the top of my career. I went to school, got my master's, at that time I only had my master's, got my doctorate now, but at that time I only had my master's and did all that schooling. And 8 years in, I'm making 50K a year. That's like my ceiling. I'm sure people you probably talked about this, is we all have that ceiling in us. Like I only understand 50K a year. So when I start hearing about offers of high ticket and charging people 3K, 5K, 10K, 20K, like if I only make 50K a year, how can I wrap my head around that? It's very difficult.
And it's interesting coming from the school teaching environment. I imagine a lot of people would consider being a teacher a safe job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's good. You get government benefits. You got good benefits. I'm sure you
Yep.
hear that all the time. Like, oh, the pension's great.
Yep.
And from my perspective, the biggest risk is having a capped upside but limitless downside, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you have one employer. So all it takes is that one employer to say, hey, we don't want you here at school anymore, or we're changing the
Yep.
curriculum, or blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden now you're completely out of the job. You're completely out of all that stuff, and your upside's not capped, which is like the opposite. When you start
Yep.
studying investors, they're always looking to hedge the downside with asymmetrical upsides, or like
Yep.
uncapped upsides primarily.
Yep. I tell you all the time is the golden handcuffs. Like, if everyone knows this in jobs, you got golden handcuffs. We got the weekends off, we got the holidays off, we got this off, that off. And it's like, and we get paid throughout the summer. Like the way our pay was like, we just got a consistent paycheck every single 2 weeks. But you know what it was, Mike? It's funny that really sparked my entrepreneurship. I had a buddy who was working in banking, and he was a independent contractor working for a big bank. So he was doing some contracting work over here, some contracting work over here. And then one day he told me, "Oh yeah, I made 4 grand last pay. Oh, the pay before that I made 3K. The pay before that, I think I might make 6K next pay." I'm like, wait a second, you can determine how much money you make? I'm like, I've been a school teacher for 8 years, so I'm used to getting a steady paycheck, and no matter how often or how much time I spend in the school, no matter how now, no matter how many A's they get, or know how many F's they get, or say if they get F's, I might get fired. But know how many A's or F's, like no matter what, my paycheck is gonna be the same on Friday. And when my buddy told me, and he wasn't making crazy money. He was making like 6 figures, but he was like, yeah, 5K this check. Oh, that check was 8K. I was like, okay, I love what I did. I worked in special needs. I work with students with autism on the spectrum. I love what I did. I love my kids, but like it ain't adding up for me. 50K a year, and it's just not adding up for me. So when my buddy said that, that's what really sparked it for me. Like, okay, I gotta go find, like you said, that upside. Where's the upside at?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
always a little humbling when you see like this guy's making in a week what I'm making in a month. Like, I need to figure
Yeah.
something out
Did
here.
you figure something out? Yeah.
Yeah. And then so you got in with Markwell, you started to actually package this at high ticket pricing.
Yep.
What then became your next stumbling block or place that you got stuck?
Big one, big one, big one, big one. The biggest one is my time, man. I'm having some success with my coaching program, and people are having success with it. So what do I have? I have a lot of phone calls, right? Because the system was, build a funnel and then, get people book a call and you show me your offer, no big deal. But I was at a point, for a long time, actually, I was at a point that I would have 5, 8, 9, even sometimes 10 calls a day every single day. And the good thing about high ticket sales is, I close 1 or 2 sales a week. Like, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm making, 10K a week or, 15, 20K a week, whatever it is sometimes. But it's like, my wife is like, but you're in the office from, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night and you're on the phone the entire time. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So now I'm making the money, but like, where's the freedom at? Where this, I mean, yeah, it's great, more money than teaching, but it's like I'm also in this office 24/7. Like that was my issue. That was my roadblock.
It's a weird thing when your goal starts to become the problem, right? Like
Yep.
your goal in the beginning was, oh, let me get to this many calls and be enrolling this many people. And then all of a sudden that goal then shifts into like, dang, I am on this many calls and like I have to enroll this many people.
People,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's it. And then luckily, Markwell said, reach out to my guy Mike. I said, who's Mike? He said, Mike Mark, reach out to him. I said, he said, Wes, he said, he said, I don't recommend this to a lot of people, but so many people want to go get a sales team too soon, right? They're
Yep.
just like, oh my God, I'm so great at teaching this topic. I'm not great at sales. Give me a sales team. And it's like, you haven't even sold one yet. You don't even know if anyone wants it. Like, but Marco was like, yo, Wes, like, it's time for you to get a sales team. It's time for you to make that next step. And that's why I reached out to you. And we can talk about how we went through the
Yeah.
roof from there.
Which was like almost exactly a year ago. I remember it was like right around the end of May or beginning of June that you had reached out.
Yep.
And then talked. And then I remember you actually went ghost on me for like a couple weeks.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess like what was going through your mind when that had happened?
That's a good question, man. That's a really good question. That's a great question. Because I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, I had I made investments in myself before. So it wasn't like I was afraid of investment. I guess I had doubt of like Reddit would work or not. I guess that was it. I was just like, well, I don't have a problem investing in myself. Obviously, I had money coming in. Like the money was not a non-issue. It was just like, am I gonna throw spaghetti on a wall with this? Is this really gonna be a deal? And I had to overcome that. I mean, obviously, watching your content, checking you out, emails, constant emails every day. Like, oh yeah, I'm still doing this. Oh yeah, I'm still making, still having all success for my students. So I think that helped me overcome it. But yeah, it was just mainly like, is this gonna work? And you prove that through like constant, consistent, follow up and content. Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. So
Yeah.
just by staying in front of you and being like,
Yep.
yo, we do this, then you're like, all right, let's see how it goes. You enrolled, I think, like right after July 4th. I'm pretty sure it was July 4th. And then you're like, all right, let's get to work now,
Yeah. Something
if I
like that.
remember correctly. And
Yeah.
so I guess as you got through the process of getting the sales reps and going through basically everything that we run through and scale your sales, what were some of the things that stood out to you or that immediately maybe even surprised you as you went through that process?
I mean, just your guys' ability to help me with the workload. I think that was another barrier. It was like something else I got to go learn. Like we're, in this business, we're learning softwares and this software and that software. I'm just like, I don't want to go learn it on the software. But then you guys had a website that just had the videos, that just had like hey, Wesley, once you do this step, then you do this step. Oh, okay. And then once you do this step, then you do this step. Oh, okay, got it. Like I was like, okay, great. I don't have to go learn a new software or learn a new thing. And the fact that you guys had it packaged like that and delivered it like that, that was gold, man. Gold.
That's awesome to hear. That was something that came out of a lot of trial and error. So people had kept asking us for a checklist, and I can't tell you how many PDF checklists I made for people, and they were not doing them. And then they would still ask for a checklist, even though they had a checklist. And I was like, we got to figure something else out. And then once we put that together with that system, I'm like, okay, here's each checklist. We roll them out so we weren't overwhelming people. Because that was another thing is like,
Yeah.
the whole sales team process can be a little bit daunting and overwhelming as you get into it.
Yeah.
And so we realized like we got to drip this out to people and they can move through it where it's just, okay, I just got these couple items to knock out. And once those are done, then you all tell me what's next. And
Yep.
we found that breaking it down like that started to make it a lot easier. Got sales reps on board.
Yep.
You got the chance to chat with them. You ended up putting them on the team. What ended up being your reaction after the interviews initially?
Oh, it was exciting. I mean, I was nervous as well, but I was excited. As soon as you got, you guys did the interviews, you guys gave me the ones for me to interview. I picked who I wanted to go with. It was like two or three folks, or I think actually went with two, and then I added one more later. But yeah, it was exciting. It was like, whoa, like and Marquel will tell you, I'm always a guy who's like, I'm just gonna get it done. I still mess things up, like I think I told you, you're like, Wesley, why is your salesperson doing like 30 calls? You're supposed to like ease them in. I was like, I don't know. I was just like, here's all the calls. It's like I missed that part in the video. Like I was like, I don't know. So I still made mistakes, but I love that even though I made mistakes, it still worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what was the before and after then of installing sales reps?
Yeah. Honestly, bro, I was doing like 40, I think I was like 40, 50K a month is what I was doing when I first got to you. And I was like, that's just all me 100% doing sales calls. Now we're about a quarter million to 300K a month. Like last month was our first like 300K month, which is like blows my freaking mind. But
Congrats.
on average, we're doing about a quarter million a month. And it's like, it's not even just the money thing, it's more of the time. Like, and I think I told you this already. I haven't taken a sales call in, I don't know, maybe 7 months, 8 months. Like I think I was taking sales calls with them for maybe like a month or two once they got onboarded, and I still kept taking calls because he's like, hey, don't hop off the phone right away. Make sure you're still, you got to have your income in, your source coming in. And then we had some amazing guys that really started rocking sales, and I got pulled away to build other parts of the business. And like I said, I haven't been on a sales call and yeah, maybe 7, 8 months now. So that's the more important thing, even than the money.
Yeah, it's like actually being able to take a vacation and not freak out of like, am I going to have to turn my ads off, or am I going to have to take sales calls while I'm out and about,
100%.
and being able to actually work on more meaningful, more impactful stuff that's going to drive things forward instead of
100%.
once you get all those calls, it starts to feel like, it's fun for the first several months while you're mastering the sales process. And then once you feel like you got it mastered, you just feel like you're running in place. And sometimes
Yep.
it could even be like you're full sprinting just to stay where you're at. And
Yep.
then that's when it starts to get to that point where it weighs us heavy, like, oh, what am I really doing here? And that's when people come to me with bad ideas. They're like, I'm just going to sell this thing from a webinar. And then we're like, don't do that. That's
Yeah.
usually a mistake. So I know. So obviously you started back about a year ago. You just hit your first 300 grand month. What happened even in the first few months? Like, what was that like? Like, was it something that it took a while to ramp up? How fast did they ramp up?
I don't remember the exact dates and numbers, man, but I want to say we ramped up pretty quickly. I want to say within like a month or two, might have doubled my, revenue. It might have went from, 40 to 80 within the first month or two. I want to say I got to that six. I don't remember. I know I text you. I don't remember what it was, but I know I got to that six-figure month pretty soon. I
It was
remember hopping on
August, actually. I remember you're like, August is my first six-figure month.
was it August? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
August. And I got in June. So yeah, by August it was a six-figure month. That was it. Correct. Yeah. Or July. I got in July.
July, yeah.
So it was next month. So it was super quick. I can't remember, but like I know it was like super quick. I know like having three guys. Actually, I had two when I first started, and then I think I brought Mahmood, or was it Yasser? One of them two.
You did something interesting, which you had brought someone that you had already
With
known
me.
in your network into the mix.
Yes.
And then from there, when they dropped off, then we brought in an extra
Then we
person.
brought in the one that we interviewed. You're correct. So we had three off the bat, and then it dropped off. Then we brought someone in off the. Yep, 100%. But yeah, it's been. I can say this. I've never gone under six figures since August of last year per month, which is easy to say. But anyway, yeah.
Mind blowing. Internet marketing space. It feels normal to 6x a company inside of a year, but like that's not normal. Like if
No,
you
not at
talk
all.
about this to normal business owners, or you talk about this to like a banker or somebody who looks like an accountant,
Yeah.
they're gonna look at this and be like, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to really see like that type of tremendous growth is mind blowing. But the key pieces too are a big factor is that you have automated leads, right? Where a lot of people come to us, they're trying to get cold callers to be generating all their leads, or they're trying to, manual labor their way into the lead gen, or ask the sales reps to be generating leads and closing deals. And with your systems, a big part of why they're able to work so well is you had the key aspects of what we talk about in the perfect sales team of automating your lead gen. You had
Yeah.
clear qualifying criteria, so you're able to make sure that the leads were turning into qualified appointments.
Yep.
Were you doing that with setters, or were you doing that completely automated?
Just completely automated. Just, traffic, me just doing, content, YouTube, TikTok, things like that. And then also a little bit of ads. Honestly, if I tell you how much I spend on ads, it'll probably blow your mind. Very little ad spend. Very, very little ad spend.
That's crazy. And then so a big factor though is your I remember your applications were good. Like when people fill out their applications, they really are filling out their applications, and your
Mm-hmm.
content is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like the sales reps are getting on calls and they're expected to hit hole in ones. They're within the range of like they gotta pitch it potentially on the green and then put it in, but they're
Yeah.
not there having to necessarily do all of that from the beginning to the end, which is a key factor as well as to why it worked so well.
For sure.
Once you got off the phones, right? You haven't been on the phones for somewhere around 7, 8, 9 months, and then within that time frame, what have you been focusing on in order to continue to grow?
The beautiful thing that I finally could focus on was actually focus on delivery. Obviously, with more revenue means more students, right? So now my most recent issue that I had was I kind of got solved within the last actually maybe 2 months was I hired coaches. I have 3 coaches now. So now I have team members. And the great thing about it is these coaches are my top students. Like I just follow the proven system. Like I got students who have won $4 million contracts, 6 figures in contracts. They've had a lot of success, and they're very vocal on our weekly calls. And they're like, "Yeah, I'll coach." I'm like, "Okay, well, how about you check my email for support?" So now they're able to support via email. They're able to do the weekly calls and coaching, and that's just kind of recently within the last 2 months. But still, like for me to have the confidence to do that, because that was another fear. It was like, Wesley, people pay this money to see you. And I think that's what I've kind of learned from you guys as well as learning is like, we got to think this is a business. Like no one's waiting for Jeff Bezos to knock on your door and deliver your Amazon package, right? I wouldn't be mad. It's like, oh my God, where the hell is Jeff at? Like no one's looking for Jeff, right? But the package still gets here. So I realize now it's like we got to think that big that it's not about Dr. West being on the call or the one replying to the email. It's about, does this system work? Do the students get the result? If that answer is yes, then let's just have the proven system. So that's what I could spend the last year on, systemizing the system that people can get the result over and over again. Is not necessarily that I need to speak to you every single day.
And I want to even drive that further. When it's the system that gets the results, that is increasing the value for
Yes.
everyone, right? It's increasing the value for team members because now they have a proven system that they could train on instead of the exalted guru that people are like, oh, so and so is the best. It makes it easier for the sales reps because they're not getting on the call and everyone's saying, oh, I want to talk to Dr. West before I get started. Instead,
Right.
it's like the system is the reason that people are getting these results. It doesn't matter if you talk to Dr. West or you talk to one of the star students. In fact, it's actually a
Exactly.
benefit to be able to speak to someone else who
Yes.
was in your shoes and followed the process exactly, as opposed to speaking to Dr. West, who might have some sort of magic that's different than you. And when they start to see that for the prospects, for the sales reps, for the coaches, it makes it so much easier on everybody because then we can ascribe all the results to the system. For us as the business owner, there is a moment where it's a little bit weird because we start to feel like our significance is being threatened.
Yes. I'm like, what? I told Mark, well, what do I do? He's like, if I'm not on the weekly call, like, my serious question was, so what do I do Like, what's my purpose? To like oversee the system. I was like, but wait, but what do I do? Anyway, sorry, I didn't cut you off. I'm
No,
just
it's
like,
exactly
that's
it,
where
right?
I'm struggling now. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like right now, I'm on this podcast with you. Like, I'm not on a sales call. I'm not training. I'm not coaching. Like, I'm so glad you hit me up. I'm like, I don't know what else I'm gonna be doing right now.
It's weird, and it's also weird going through that process of like it's it feels good to be celebrated
Yeah,
and students say, "Oh, you're a genius."
yeah.
Oh, "Oh, that's gold. I love that." "You
Mm-hmm.
changed my life." Like that really feeds the ego for a period of time, and then to release that, and then like it's like you see your coaches are getting celebrated or your
Right,
salespeople are getting celebrated, and you're like, oh, what's going on here? Like,
right.
there's a lot of interesting emotions that start to come up when we let go of the reins and we hand them over to someone else. And we
Mm-hmm.
see then our customers getting that sort of satisfaction. But then you realize, like, wouldn't, CEO of Starbucks love to see a customer raving about a specific barista at the store?
Yep,
Absolutely. That's like,
absolutely.
they see that and they're like, oh, you guys are nailing it. They're
Mm-hmm.
not like, oh, why are they caring about them?
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
it's a really, really interesting thing. And
Yeah.
so I guess now that you have gone and you've solved some of the customer success challenges and you being stuck there and your time limits on that, what do you see as being next? I know you're like, what do I do? So what do you do?
Improve the I mean, delivery is what I've improved on with coaches, right? I will say the next chapter that I'm focusing on now is like optimizing and making it. I guess here's the thing in my head. I always hear this back in my head. How can we get the student from investment to a result? And the whole goal of us business owners is to shorten that time span, right? I mean, we're not selling this whole get rich quick thing. It's not that type of deal. But I'm just saying, like, how can we get you from you made an investment, you raise your hand, and how can we get you to the result faster? That's all I spend my time on. Period.
Yeah. So time to first value is what we call that.
That's
Yeah.
okay. That's what that is. Time to
Yeah,
first
yeah, yeah.
value.
In client success, that's what the term is. So time to first value. How do you shorten that and
How you shorten that?
get to that immediate, like, okay, sweet. How do we make this as easy as possible? Remove
Mhm.
those obstacles for the student. And then as a
That's it.
result, you got more testimonials that you could sing about.
Yep.
And you got more people who are saying, hey, this changed my life. And then it sort of feeds into itself.
That's it. I think that's my only job. I mean, that's literally what I do day in. I mean, obviously that's what comes with different offers and different things and different delivery. So there's a lot of different things that we're bouncing around with and testing and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, my thing in my head is exactly what you said: is how do I shorten that time span? And then that's my job.
Here's a weird question. Where would you be if you didn't bring in sales reps and go through that process and take that leap of faith at that point in time?
Oh, that's a good question, man. That's a great question because it's funny. I'm never afraid to raise my hand. I think Marco asks sometimes to the group, "Hey, who here wants to sell their company one day?" And I'm like, hand goes straight up. Everyone else like, "What? Isn't this your baby? Don't you love it? Don't it?" I'm like, "No, like this is a business. Like I mean, yes, I love what I do, but it's like I understand. There's an end result, right?" So honestly, I don't know if I would have, have sold, if I would have closed. I don't know, man. I know it was bad. Like, there's no way I could have kept doing 8 hours of calls every day for week after week. There's no so like I know I'm reading that one book now, Buy Your Time. I think it's Get Your Time Back by Dan
Yep.
Martell, whatever. I would have threw the grenade. He calls it the grenade. I probably would have thrown a grenade in my business and blew it all up accidentally. Like, oh, here's a grenade. Now the offer is this, or here's a grenade, and now let me just blow it. I probably just blew it up at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, you would have automated it. Send it to a low ticket course on an automated
Yeah.
webinar. That's
I'd have been
that's the
like,
recipe for throwing a grenade,
yeah,
dude.
buy a, hey, here's a membership. It's $80
Oh,
a
there you go.
month
That's
for our
another one.
membership program. Let me do this membership program. Let me just stop doing high ticket sales. Even though I'm making, 40-50K a month, let me now go sign up 2,000 people at $97 a month and just have that new demon of like, oh, okay, now I have this new issue. Let me go find a new problem. So man, yeah, man, I thank you so much. I mean, seriously, for following up with me and dealing with my crap in the follow-up process and like sticking with me.
I got to give you huge kudos, right? The thing, and Markwell told me this when he had connected us. He's like, Wes he's an implementer.
Yeah.
Like if you just give him the directions, he'll execute it, and like you said, it may not be totally perfect, which is fine, right? But one of my sayings that I tell everybody is, if you go skydiving, pack 2 parachutes, right? And so
Yeah.
we got 2 parachutes throughout this process and all the different failure points. And that's why we're not onboarding only one sales rep. That's why we're not, depending so much on one specific piece as we go
Yeah.
through this process. We're not interviewing a tiny number of people. We're having a huge marketing to be able to figure out who these best fit people are. And so as a result of that, by us packing 2 parachutes, it makes it so that you can make a couple mistakes throughout the process, right? And as long as you just go through that checklist and you Xing one off at a time, and it's not too crazy, and you're not beating yourself up as you try to do it, then it really does come together beautifully. So this has been awesome. Anyone who's watching this, especially folks who are, looking to launch a high ticket offer, or maybe they're in that place where they're doing all the sales process themselves, there's going to be so many gems here for them to watch and even go back on repeat and watch over. So to that specific person, what last advice or parting words do you have for someone who's there and maybe they're doing the entire sales process themselves, they're trying to figure this out, and they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed as they're going through?
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, it's like take the leap. I was right there at that point, and like I hit you up, I reached out to you, and I kind of went ghost, right? And that might be somewhere you guys are. You're at the point like you need help in the sales process. Maybe you need help in your funnel. Maybe you just need help with something, and someone's out there they did it before. They have a proven track record, and you can see their student success. Let's just say reach out, respond, reply, say yes, and just see where they can help you out, see where they can fit, they can fit you in. And honestly, my biggest thing is student success. If they have the receipts, then what are we talking about? That's why I'm so big. If people find me on YouTube, I'm so big on, we call it the winner circle call. I'm posting winner circle calls every single week of students winning contracts. And that way there's no debate. Like no one can debate like, should I hit up Dr. West? Well, let's see. Let's watch all these videos, right? And you do the same. Marquel does the same with his winner call or his website with all the student success. So if people are doing that, those who you want to reach out to. You don't want to reach out to the people who are like, check out my Lambo in my mansion. This is why I'm great. Like, I mean, again, I'm nothing wrong. I probably have some friends who do that, but it's like, if you don't see student success, then what is there to reach out to? So if you do see that student success and that sparks something in you, just reach out. That's it.
Heck yeah. And then if anybody wants to connect with you, how can they go about connecting with you or finding you?
But yeah, this Dr. Wes Fisher on YouTube. I would say go to my YouTube channel, check out any of my free content, connect with me there, subscribe to the channel. And we have a lot of information you can check out there.
Perfect. And then, so before we wrap, is there any question you want to ask me, like with something that you're dealing with that might be problems that someone else can come against in the future, and that maybe we can help a couple people here?
That's good. I thought I had a question a second ago, and then it just slipped my mind, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Dang. What was my question? I'm looking at my calendar. I have my calendar on my wall here. So I'm trying to stay organized here, but it's slipping my mind. I don't have a question.
My guess is what would trigger it would be, what do you do next?
Yeah, I think that's it. And it's still, you kind of asked that question about limiting that time or making that time shorter. My question is, how do I scale to 1 million a month?
So the biggest thing that occurs at this point is getting to new offers. So starting to tack in multiple offers. So usually what we talk about is, if you remember our category king model, so you get your mid ticket, which is sort of that, 2 to 30 grand price point, fast decision sale. Then you tack on your back end, which our favorite way to do that is using events and selling back ends at events. Whether they're virtual or in person, both work amazing, but using an event model to sell a big back end. And then from there, we start to figure out potentially low ticket front ends, and then we combine all those. And then that's where you really can push the volume on it.
Perfect. That's what I need. That's what I need to hear. And that's what we're kind of doing. We have like challenges that we're doing. I have a hiring, not done for you, but somewhat done with you type of service similar to you that I'm working on. So that's exactly what I needed. I need that confirmation. Appreciate that.
Sweet. All right. Well, this has been a great interview. Thank you, Wes. I really appreciate it. It's been fun working with you, and I'm excited to see your continued growth.
Love it, man. Thank you. Thank you for your time, bro. I really appreciate it.